components. Processors. Processors are also known as central processing unit, CPUs. CPU is the brain of a computer. It processes the instructions given by input devices. It is built up of several registers. The CPU consists of various devices. ALU, Arithmetic Logic Unit, which performs arithmetic and logical operations. CU, Control Unit, controls the flow of data. Prefetch Unit, prefetches the instructions needed for ALU. Bus, connects all the components in the CPU. There are two types of processors, Land Grid Array LGA and Pin Grid Array PGA. In LGA type of processor, as you can see, pins are not present on the processor surface, whereas in PGA, you will find pins on the surface of processors. The older version of CPU were all PGA type. Newer versions like dual core, Core 2 Duo are pinless processors. There are various ways to identify processors. We can identify them from BIOS, Basic Input-Output System setup, also called CMOS setup, My Computer property of Windows operating system, or you can find it also on the rear portion of the processor. For example, have a look at this processor. Name of manufacturer is Intel. Type of processor is Pentium 4. Clock speed is 2.8 GHz. Cache memory is 1 MB and bus speed is 533 MHz. Speed of the processor depends upon FSB, front side bus, clock speed, cache memory and registers. Nowadays, normally we use dual core, Core 2 Duo, i3, i5 and i7 processors from Intel family and Athlon and Duro AMD family. Processors are connected on CPU socket of motherboard. There are different types of sockets for PGA and LGA processors. As you can see, this motherboard is having socket 7, which was used for older version of processor. This is a PGA socket motherboard used for bit older version of processor like P4, and for new version of processors we are using pinless or LGA land grid array socket. Depending on type of the processor we use, we have to check compatibility of the socket on motherboard. Every processor uses different socket. Like for i7 processor, we need i7 compatible socket on motherboard. Motherboard. Motherboard is the spine of computer. It connects all the internal and external components of the computer. There are two types of motherboards, integrated and non-integrated motherboards. This is a non-integrated motherboard. Here, only keyboard connector is given. All other components have to be connected using expansion card on the expansion slot. These types of motherboards are usually high in cost, but the plus point is that if a single component fails, we can just replace the faulty card without having to replace the motherboard. Now you can see integrated motherboard. In this motherboard, all the components are soldered on it. Nowadays we are using integrated motherboard. Drawback of integrated motherboard is if a single component fails, we need to either replace the motherboard or repair the whole device. There are various components on motherboard like CPU socket, which is used to connect processor. RAM slots used to connect RAMs. IDE integrated drive electronics, connectors to connect IDE devices like IDE hard disk or CD-ROM. SATA, Serial Advanced Technology Attachment, connectors to connect SATA devices like SATA hard disk or CD-ROM. FDD, floppy disk drive, connector to connect floppy drive. PCI slots to connect expansion card like Ethernet card, USB card or TV tuner card, etc. AGP slot for high-end graphic card. North Bridge and South Bridge ICs for connection of data flow in the motherboard. ROM chip, it stores CMOS or BIOS setup program. CMOS battery to provide power to ROM chip. CPU fan connector to connect CPU fan. Front panel connectors to connect power button, power LED, reset button, hard disk LED of the front panel of cabinet. Front audio and USB port to connect audio and USB devices on front panel. Standby LED which shows power on status of motherboard. As you can see, there are various ports soldered on motherboard like PS2 ports to connect PS2 keyboard and mouse, serial port to connect serial mouse and modem, parallel port for connecting printer, scanner and external drives. Serial and parallel port are not commonly used these days as it is replaced by USB, Universal Serial Bus. VGA, Video Graphics Adapter port used to connect VDU, Visual Display Unit devices like monitor, projector, LCD, etc. Ethernet port to connect LAN cable. Audio ports having line in, line out and mic to connect audio devices. Motherboard is also consisting of various buses which runs throughout the motherboard and connects all devices with each other as per the requirements. Motherboard can also be classified as desktop motherboard, laptop motherboard and server motherboard. Basic difference in these motherboards is its design. Desktop motherboard uses all standard size components, whereas in laptop motherboard, Size of CPU, RAM and hard disk are small or compact compared to desktop and server motherboard. It also does not have PCI slots. Server motherboards have more number of processor sockets, more number of RAM slots, and more number of Ethernet ports, etc. because it is designed to perform high-end operation. RAM, Random Access Memory, RAM is a volatile memory. It stores the data and instructions till the power is given to it. There are two types of RAM, static RAM and dynamic RAM, also known as SRAM and DRAM. Static RAM. This type of RAM is very fast but also very expensive, thus used as cache memory which is built in the processor. Dynamic RAM. This type of RAM is bit slow as it needs to be refreshed continuously and more cost efficient than static RAM. There are various types of DRAM like SD, DDR, DDR1, DDR2, DDR3 and SOD RAMs. SD-RAM. SD-RAM has two notches on it and large rectangular ICs. It is used in P2 and P3 machines and has a speed ranging from 133 MHz to 233 MHz. DDR1. DDR1 has single notch and long rectangle ICs. It is used in P4 machines and has speed ranging from 233 MHz to 433 MHz. DDR2. DDR2 has single notch in middle and use small square shape ICs. It is used in dual core and core 2 DO machines and has speed up to 833 MHz. DDR3. DDR3 has single notch in middle and use small rectangle shape ICs. It is used in i3, i5 and i7 machines and have speed up to 1666 MHz. Though DDR1, DDR2 and DDR3 have single notch, but the alignment of notch is different in each one and also physical IC's structures are different, thus can be easily identified. Now you can see the notch is not aligned in DDR1 and DDR2 as its location is different in each one. SOD RAMs. These RAMs are same as DDR1, DDR2 and DDR3. The only difference is it is smaller in size as they are tending to use in laptop and notebook PC. Hard disk drive HDD Hard disk drive is a secondary storage media. It stores data in magnetic form. It is a permanent storage device. There are different types of hard disk drive. IDE Integrated Drive Electronics Hard Disk. SATA Serial Advanced Technology Attachment Hard Disk. SCSI Small Computer System Interface Hard Disk. IDE Hard Disk. It has a 40 pins connector and connected to the motherboard using 40 pins flat IDE cable. Data transfer rate of IDE hard disk is 133 kbps. SATA hard disk. It has 7 pins connector and connected to the motherboard using SATA cable. Data transfer rate of SATA hard disk is 1.5 GB per second. SCSI hard disk. This hard disk is mainly used in server machines. Data transfer rate of SCSI hard disk is very high. These hard disks are hot swappable, thus allow us to remove hard disk from running machine. SCSI hard disk has to be connected using SCSI cable. We can connect multiple SCSI hard disk on a single SCSI cable. External USB hard disk is also available. This type of hard disk is usually shock-proof, smaller in size, lightweight and mainly used for offline data storage and also data transfer from one computer to another computer. Internal structure of hard disk. Platters. Platters are made up of aluminium and coated with magnetic media. Spindle motor. Spindle motor rotates platter so that whole circular disc can access during read and write operation. Head. This is one of the tiny components of hard disk used for reading data from magnetic media and also writes data on magnetic media which is on the platter. Actuator arm. There are multiple heads in a single hard disk. Actuator arm is used to connect all the head so that once arm moves, all the head moves simultaneously. Actuator motor. Actuator motor is used to move actuator arm in, to and fro motion on platter so that head can access whole magnetic media on platter. Logic card. Logic card manages data flow and power system of hard disk. Air vents. Air vents are tiny air pockets which circulate the air in and out of the hard disk.